Hi everyone, welcome to Miss Adams Teaches Macbeth Act 5, Scene 7. Another quick scene for you. We're right in the midst of the war. The scene opens with a moment of violence where Macbeth fights the young Siward. This is the son of the Siward that has been mentioned in previous scenes. So they have a fight which ends in the young Siward's death. Then within the scene it switches to different characters. Most importantly, Macduff, Malcolm is there as well, and Siward's father. So we get to see the boy being slain and then a conversation with his father where he is unaware of the violence that has just happened. So it's a very, very busy but short scene. So let's look at Macbeth at the beginning of this scene. He says, "They have tied me to a stake. I cannot fly, but bear-like I must fight the course." So straight off, we're using metaphors. Tied me to a stake. This whole analogy, he's comparing himself to a bear, as in bear fighting, bear baiting, where bears were tied to stakes so they couldn't escape and then were fought, obviously ending ultimately in their death. So what he's actually doing here is quite ironic because that suggests that he's the victim, that he is the prey, that he is the injured party. And yes, okay, fine, there is a force that it has come to attack his castle, but the whole reason he is there is because of his treacherous actions. So there's irony in the way that he is presenting himself. We also are reminded of his hubris when he says, "What's he that was not born of women?" So this rhetorical question demonstrates his incredible overconfidence, or hubris, H-U-B-R-I-S, okay, reminding us that he feels kind of invincible. He's like, come at me, whatever, it doesn't matter because you're all born of women, so you're never going to kill me. Let's talk about young Siward. So we've not met him before. He literally comes on stage just to be killed, but before being killed, he's got some punchy things to say. He says, "The devil himself could not pronounce a title more hateful to mine ear," when he sort of comes across Macbeth and realises who he is fighting. So massive hyperbole here. There's a kind of righteousness to the young Siward. The fact that he and other people of his generation are willing to pick up swords and fight this battle demonstrates how powerful their need is to fight on the side of good. It represents, or emphasises, I should say, Macbeth's own cruelty, because everyone, even the young, want to fight against him. And the young Siward also is very kind of personal and direct in the way that he speaks to him. He says, "Thou liest, abhorrent tyrant." So check out that emotive language. "With my sword I'll prove the lie thou speakest." So again, we've got this kind of sense of how impassioned the young Siward is. He insults him directly. He uses this powerful emotive language, abhorred tyrant. Ultimately, of course, he dies because Macbeth kills him. Which again is a reminder of the fact that Macbeth is willing to kill even the young. He doesn't distinguish. So you've got this real kind of sense of good and evil here fighting against one another. Okay, now on to our lovely friend Macduff. Okay, so Macduff, as the scene swaps over to the Macduff side of things, he says, "That way the noise is. Tyrant, show thy face. If thou beest slain, and with no strike of mine, my wife and children's ghosts will haunt me still." So there's this real sense of need and urgency, this desperation that Macduff has to fight Macbeth specifically. So you've got here, it's an exclamative sentence function, because obviously you've got your exclamation mark, but "Tyrant, show thy face" is also an imperative. So there's a kind of sense of his courage here. He's calling Macbeth out. And one of the reasons is because he's frightened that if anyone else kills Macduff, he'll never kind of get that sense of closure. He'll always feel that the deaths of his family have gone unavenged. It's really important to him that he is the one that kills Macbeth as a way of getting justice for what he did to his family, hence the idea of the ghosts haunting him. But we also see something else about Macduff's character, because he says, I cannot strike at wretched kerns whose arms are hired to bear their staves. So the wretched kerns, that means the poor soldiers that are having to fight against Macbeth. He recognises that none of them are actually loyal to Macbeth. They've pretty much been paid to be there. And so he's basically saying, I won't hurt them, I won't kill them, I won't fight them. He's not willing to do that because he recognises that they're not truly bad. It's not their fault. And so when he says, either thou, Macbeth, so either I'm going to kill you, or else my sword with an unbattered edge I sheathe again undeeded. Here he's basically saying, this sword is for you only, and I'd rather put it away without any blood on it, without any fighting, than kill anyone else. So it demonstrates a goodness. So I've said the word righteousness quite a lot in the last couple of videos, and it's our sign that although he is doing violence, he's doing violence for the right reason. Okay, so he's not just willy-nilly killing lots of people. His violence is focused. It's Macbeth and Macbeth alone. Okay, last point on this scene. You will have noticed that in the last few scenes there's been a lot of chopping and changing. The scenes have been really short, but in this particular one we've got this kind of knitting together of two different moments. So why didn't Shakespeare just make them separate scenes? Well, I think it's about, again, that kind of sense of chaos and confusion and pace. So the fact that we go from Macbeth and the fight with young Siward to the sort of nobility of Macduff in the way that he prepares himself for killing Macbeth and how unwilling he is to hurt anyone else. So I think that's why Shakespeare has brought these ideas together. So again, similar themes, very, very short scene, conflict right in the midst of it, right in the midst of battle, and that idea about righteousness and good versus evil. But I think here, this idea of righteousness is really emphasised through this character of young Siward, this young man who essentially Shakespeare's brought on stage just to kill, but to demonstrate what Macbeth is willing to do, but what all of the nation are also willing to do to stop him. That's the most important thing. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that was useful. Any questions, pop them in the comments. Any requests, please do the same. If you haven't subscribed already, click that button, please. Otherwise, I'll see you next time. Happy revising.